All right, and if you're tuning in again, this is part 2, and we're finishing up our discussion on socialism versus capitalism. Let's tune in.
I want to touch base on today. You stop doing
sorry.
that when I'm trying to record.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
That was a 7 out of 10, by the way.
I wanted to touch base on the economic distribution problem today, guys.
Yeah.
The economic distribution problem is an issue of socialism. It ultimately proves why it can't work economically. And that's because with socialism, you can't know where to put your resources at. Like, it's just literally impossible. And there's a great video on it, a great YouTube video. I would recommend you guys...
Whoa! This Mountain Dew is good. Man! Wow!
Definitely sponsored by Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
I apologize
we're
headphone
not,
users,
but we
but-
could be.
Oh my word! This is good. Oh, sponsored by Taco Bell. Mountain Dew sponsored by Taco Bell.
Mountain Dew sponsored by Taco Bell?
Yeah, that's kind of dumb.
I mean, I don't
Why?
exactly want to eat tacos with my Mountain Dew.
Taco Bell, if you're out there listening,
Why is it green?
please sponsor.
Taco Bell, if we
that's
drink
good
a lot of
question.
Mountain Dew, will you sponsor us?
Was that the only bottle that was
If
green? All the
anyone
other
is
ones
out
behind
there
it weren't.
listening who could be a potential sponsor, please sponsor us. We're all broke.
I'm not broke. I just literally have no income.
Please sponsor us if you're listening there. Taco Bell, Mountain Dew. Just hit us up. We'll talk for 2 minutes about your sponsor. We don't even care. We love you guys. And
Yeah,
I also love tacos, but they give me bad diarrhea. Thought you should know.
And now time for a commercial. Are you tired of No, I'm kidding. I'm not doing that.
Well, I mean, as long as it's not McDonald's coffee, because...
Oh my word, it gives me the poops.
Okay. So I was about to introduce a YouTube video. What if there were no prices? The werewolf thought experiment on YouTube. So this is a great video. I can't recommend that you guys watch it enough. But I was hoping James would kind of break down the points in it and explain exactly why socialism is economically impossible in the long run.
Well, it's all about information, right? Like, in the video we talk about, there's a mountain and we want to build a railroad for some reason, even though we have airplanes, and that I still don't know why. And they have really good chins in the video, by the way. Look for the chins and the beards. Those are really nice.
Very strong chins.
Very, very, looks like you could break some glass with those chins. But the idea is, do we go around the mountain or through the mountain? So they asked, to go through the mountain, we would need engineers. To go around the mountain, we would need more steel. So the question is, how do we know whether we need more How do we know where best to put the engineers and where best to put the steel? Could they be used in other industries? Are there other industries that needed more? Are there other places that would need engineers more than we do? Are there other places that would need steel more than we do?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the barring question when it comes to this. Is
So, like, if we're doing kind of like agriculture, we need a lot of steel structures for agriculture, then we're going to use up those resources, I guess.
Yeah, and engineering can be used for just about anything. I mean,
exactly.
really,
It would take more of the steel and the wood to go around the mountain, but it'd take a lot more machining and mining to go through the mountain. Which one is going to be more cost effective?
And where could we best put? Where could we best allocate resources? Really, because we're not sure if the other industries need them more. Like, and it's just an information problem.
Couldn't the government just take a poll or something?
Well, yeah, you could just take a poll, but by the time the poll is finished, the statistics would already change. What we need from day to day fluctuates. I worked in a supermarket, right? What we needed day to day changed drastically, and what we needed week to week changed drastically. If you had given us a poll about what we needed for the next week, I wouldn't know.
And it looks like from what I'm reading here, there would be mountains of data. Like, how would you even begin to make sense of that all? It would just be impossible.
There'd be so much data, and the data would already be outdated by the time you're reading it. I mean, there's no way to really... And maybe in the future we can develop an algorithm that can sort through everything and get everything perfect. Possibly. But until we have an algorithm that we know works, let's hold off on the socialism. Because this economic distribution problem winds up crashing entire economies.
Exactly, because I think at the end, that argument for capitalism was saying whichever resource we'll need the most of, we should save. Because if we need, if at the end of the day that steel is needed the most, but we don't have as much of it to resource, then we should do the other route. But let's just say the way, if using more steel was the more efficient way to go, and we have tons of it for a resource, they'd obviously choose that route because it'll save them money.
If we're putting price controls on it, the thing that's more in demand will have a higher price rate.
Yeah, exactly.
And the thing that we have more of will cost less. So we can actually see which one would be, by going with the cheaper option, we're actually using by using the cheaper option, we're actually choosing what needs to be used.
Most resource friendly.
How would we tie that to socialism?
Well, here's the thing. So for socialism, there would be for socialism, the government, the state has to decide what resources should go where. So, and I can't recommend the video enough because it really breaks down why there would be mountains of data and why it'd be impossible to figure out. But it'd be impossible to know where to put the resources and what should be used for what. Mm-hmm. And with capitalism, because there's a price system, the resources that are the most plentiful are always the cheapest. So you wouldn't be worried about, if you were the head of a company instead of the government, and you were trying to build a railway track through the mountain or around it, you would just pick the cheapest alternative, and that would automatically be the most resource friendly and the most economic way of doing it.
But if the government controlled it, they're just going to choose whatever they want to do. But if they're going through the mountain, if that's the more expensive way, it makes our city look cool.
And that's why in Canadian healthcare, you will see that we have shortages in just about everything in some aspects, but we will have large amount of supplies in other areas, and it doesn't make any sense until you realize we have no idea where to put these stuff.
Mm-hmm. Ultimately, it just bogs down the economy and makes everyone's lives worse.
Yeah, we're going to have, if you impose government control on these things, what you're going to have is shortages in some areas and large amounts of resources sitting idle in other areas.
100%.
Yes, 100%.
100%. 100%.
All right.
So, there's another little blurb here. Actually, I wrote down in our notes why we need the rich, and we touched base on this a little bit earlier, but we could really get a lot deeper into it. Mm-hmm. Did you want to take the stage for that one as well, James?
Oh, for this one? For one moment, just let me get this up. The biggest question that we'll be having with between the left and the right is, what do we need? Do we need the rich at all? Do we need the rich? Period. Shouldn't we just take the resources and share it? Even on the yellow vest side,
or should we tax them more?
Yeah.
To get our benefits that we want because they have more money.
Let's tax them all to death.
Tax the rich.
Tax the rich, give to the poor.
And that's a fair enough question, I think. I do think it is. In the yellow vest movement, there are some people that support, uniting against the 1% and getting some of their money spread around a bit. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not saying all yellow vests are like that, but some think that way.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I mean, I disagree.
So why do we disagree with that? Why do we disagree with taxing the rich more than middle class or lower class?
Well, there's actually 3 reasons why we need the rich specifically, right? And the first reason comes down to investments, right? If you're a rich person, you know really well what to do with money, right? You're on top because you're really, really good at it. You work your way up to it.
So we talked about a bit earlier, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, the rich, if you look at the rich, I have some sites on Capitalist Cthulhu called the Reasons We Need the Rich. I have links to all this stuff. If you look at the rich year to year, you can see that some people they're fluctuating. Some people are losing lots of money. Some people are gaining lots of money. And it depends on what they're investing in, right? See, the rich, they don't just sit at home and do nothing. A lot of these people are still actively investing in projects. Mm-hmm. So we need people with large sums of money to know exactly how to invest into large-scale projects. Mm-hmm. And if that takes off, that's great, because first off, this means more jobs, right? And if it takes off, that means even more jobs. So
exactly. And that's where they keep saying, too, with the evolution of technologies taking away all these jobs. Well, if it's a socialist society, it would take away those jobs, and then no new jobs would be coming about. But in a free market society, yes, you lose jobs, but more jobs are getting made, not only because of the technology, but because other spots are opening up. There's always new ideas. There's always new markets. There's always new things out there. And that's what makes capitalism and a free market so efficient.
Yeah.
But how are we going to tie this back to the rich?
Well,
The other 2 points you're going to say.
With the rich, right? As I said, the question is, if they're not going to be the ones making those large-scale investments, and the left doesn't seem to realize that they make large-scale investments and they make these large executive choices, and they say take the money away. Well, if they take the money away, we're not going to have these people investing in these programs and controlling where these large sums go. Okay, we need that for an economy to function. So if we give it to the people, like, who's going to be doing these large-scale investments? Like, no one can manage quite as well as the rich, actually.
And the thing
That's
is,
why they're on top.
I think when you're talking about that, these are things that the left does not think about. When they're talking about taxing the rich more, this is my opinion, but I honestly think it's just coming from a selfish point. I think they just have their thumbs up their bums, and they just want, they're rich, they have more money, therefore I deserve it. It's just selfishness. They don't realize that they got there for a certain point, and they're jealous. Exactly. Do I want to be rich? Obviously, everyone wants more money in their pocket, but you need to do the work. Do you don't think these guys worked hard for that money? Like, obviously, some people get a small loan of $1 million, but you can get a small loan of $1 million and then not turn it into something. You can just blow it all at the clubs. But if you are smart, you invest it in the right spots, you're going to turn it into a profit. And that's why they deserve that money, because they knew what they're doing, they knew the economy, they knew where to invest it, and they turned it into a profit.
We need rich entrepreneurs. We need them. I think a second, were you going to say something?
Oh, I was just going to ask you a bit earlier. Were you going to... Okay, we'll cut that part out.
Sure. I want to add this. Let's just say, as an example, with our podcast here, as an example, let's just say 5 years, we get 100 listeners a podcast. Nothing. One day, a guy comes up and says, hey, you know what? I really like the stuff you guys are doing. I have a lot of confidence in you guys. Therefore, I'm going to give you guys a contract, tier contract. You're going to be working under my name, but I'm going to give you guys $50,000, and this will be your full-time job. That is a guy who has money. He's investing in something that he sees potential in, and he's rich. If we're taxing him, like I think the Ocasio-Cortez, which is one of the Senates, I believe, in the United States, is asking for a 60 to 70% tax on the rich.
Ocasio-Cortez?
He would, yeah.
I thought that was a mental illness.
Like, those guys would not be able to invest if you taxed them at those rates. There would be no rich guys. They would no longer be rich.
No, and for all the rich guys out there, you're very welcome to make that very smart investment in our podcast. Just
wink,
saying.
Wink, nudge, nudge, poke, poke.
So even if the rich were just putting their thumbs up their bums, as you say, they're still spending extraordinary amounts of money on large, ludicrous things. Like, okay, say you want a giant swimming pool, like the size of 3 football fields. All that money is being poured into this swimming pool industry, into the economy. So now we have a demand for a super large swimming pool. So we're going to need to hire a lot of people. We're going to be creating some jobs here. Yep. Everything that the rich buys, they buy very expensive stuff, right?
Especially things like construction. Like, working construction myself for a while, I saw how much people subcontract. Like, they'll be building a house. You have an electrician guy. You have the flooring guys, which is what I did. You have the drywall guy. You have the roofing guy. You have the main contractor that subcontracts everybody out. Like, there are so many stages to this where if we gave that all the control to the government, they're going to say what's the cheapest way to do it. Where if you have an open economy to it, or open market, they're going to say some people they want quality, they want value. I'm going to be hiring the best people for the job. Or other people, they might be building houses in a very bad rural area, and they're like, you know what, we just want to crank out as much houses as we can. And I've personally worked in houses where it looked horrible. The walls were completely wavy. They were not straight. The walls weren't built in straight, but they wanted it done quick and easy. Some people, that's what it is. With the floors, they wanted us done in a day. Our boss told him it's going to look horrible, and one day we're going to have to throw it together. And he said, I don't care. I'm going to be selling it a lot higher than what I'm putting into it. And then other people, they're like, you know what? Take a month to do the floors and make them look perfect because we're going to be selling this house for really high. So it all depends on the market.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I think
and these guys investing in it.
Mm-hmm.
No worries. I think there's a very interesting part in your blog, James, that I was reading that I would like to talk about. So, and one of the points in Why We Need the Rich, you talked about how the rich make things cheaper by investing or putting money into innovative ideas that are very new and very expensive. So I think you said the first cell phone that ever came out, adjusted for inflation, was something like 10 grand.
Yeah.
And so the only kind of people that are going to buy that are rich people.
Yeah,
and when rich people start buying new innovative ideas that are very expensive that no one else can afford to buy, that creates a market. Market creates competition. Competition creates
innovation.
Innovation and quality for the best price, and that brings down the cost over time.
Exactly.
Until it's affordable for people like us that can buy a smartphone for like $200.
Pretty much the same example. At Best Buy, 4K TVs when they first came out, 10 grand. You know you can get a 4K TV for now? $500.
Well, the first cell phone,
and that's like 10 years.
Motorola Dynatec 800X used to cost like $10,081.
Wow.
And that was just for like a large phone that was, cordless.
Mm-hmm. See, it's a never-ending cycle. The rich invest into innovative ideas. Innovative ideas create new inventions. Only the rich buy those super expensive new inventions. That creates competition, brings down the price, and the cycle repeats, and progress in humanity continues.
Example, those really, really old like Technicolor TVs where you have to go up to it and turn the dial. Those started at a few $1,000s too. You can buy one for $5.
Here's the thing: it's the research and it's the research and development departments of these companies, right? They need funding. So the new technologies that come out, they're only going to be bought by the rich, right? Eventually, when the money funds research and development enough, we can innovate the costs of production down.
Exactly.
And then the medium income people can now afford it. Then we innovate even more. Now the poor can afford it. And now me, a guy with next to no income, can have a computer cell phone that costs under $200.
Exactly.
And it used to be 10 grand. I mean,
You'll have dummies like me that buy $1,000 phones. They do relatively the same thing.
So, I mean, we need the rich in order for things to get cheaper, in order for technology to advance, in order for us to advance. I mean, right now, I can go to the dollar store and buy myself a dollar toque. You go back 50 years, you would not be able to buy a toque for $1.
For those Americans listening, a toque is a beanie.
Yeah.
Canadians call them toques because we're cool.
Yeah, I mean, the same call them toques. I'm sorry.
We're much cooler than you Americans. No, I'm just kidding.
We're so much cooler.
You guys are cool.
We also like to go on our Chesterfield, and we like our serviettes. What are some other Canadian words? A double-double?
Oh.
A twofer?
And Americans, we all live in igloos. This podcast is being taken place in an igloo. It is really cold.
It's not cold. I'm
lying.
A Speedo right now.
So
we also ride to school on polar bears.
Yes.
We do.
So with socialism, how would that work, guys? Like, how would some poor person buy a really expensive, innovative idea to create competition to bring down the price? It just wouldn't work.
Well, let's assume that we've taxed the rich out of existence, or we've taxed the moderately. Say we tax the 1% out of existence, right? We redistribute it. Who's going to bring down the price of a cell phone? Who's going to bring down the price of production for clothes? Who's going to bring down the price of production for TVs? Who's going to bring down the price of production for radios? Like, if we don't have the rich, the prices of production are not going to go down.
Exactly.
So, Bernie, you need the rich. Come on.
Bernie, you need the rich.
And you know this because you are rich. So screw you.
Exactly.
Okay. And now for our news section.
Right to you, William.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, the Canada Twitter page tweeted out about a drag queen... What is it?
It's called that's exactly what it is. It's a drag queen.
A drag queen, what is it? It's a drag queen show, basically. They strut their stuff.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a drag queen show. Continue. There are things that you need to read.
Yeah. I'm gonna be forgetting.
Oh.
So today on the news, I want to talk a bit about Maxime Bernier.
Maxime Bernier.
Thanks, Justin.
Yeah, it's French.
So the Canada Twitter
It's
page
French.
tweeted out about a drag queen show, and Maxime Bernier, is it?
Bernier.
Whatever. Tweeted back, government-sponsored leftist logic. Wearing clothes from another ethnic group with an X beside it, showing that
It's a wrong thing to do.
it's a wrong thing to do
In
according to the
people's views.
leftist logic.
Yeah.
White with dreadlocks, because
Big
that's
no-no.
racist somehow. Blackface, which actually, in my opinion, is a little bit racist.
It's pretty racist.
It is kind of racist.
Oh,
Men building pipelines, cultural appropriation, racism, toxic masculinity.
Oh, wrong, according to the left.
Yeah.
And that's the leftist logic. And
For those of
He
those
got-
who don't know, Maxime Bernier is the running candidate for his own party, the People's Party of Canada, libertarian new party that's come to Canada.
But if we're gonna
that we
string-
support.
But
I
string-
think we mentioned it last podcast. If you
string-
guys haven't checked it out yet, you should.
But we didn't really finish the tweet. He said that, and
Kinda
that.
did.
All
and
you
then-
did was quote it. What do you think about
Look,
it?
look, see? And then he said that wearing clothes from another ethnic group is wrong, being white with dreadlocks is wrong, blackface is wrong, men building pipelines is wrong,
Right.
but men wearing female dress and makeup equals diversity.
Dang it.
That is
Ruined the news
exactly.
channel.
So, and first off, you mind if I comment on that?
Yeah,
Go
go ahead.
Okay, well, I want to read off Canada's Twitter, what Canada actually had to say that he responded to.
And it's interesting that Canada, the Twitter page, is the one who, like, I will say my opinion. I don't really care what they tweet. They're allowed to do whatever they want. It doesn't bother me. But once again, it's the agenda. What is it that they're looking for? It's this push of diversity, because there's so much things out there saying diversity is our strength. Diversity is number one. Is it?
Well, if you put
Diversity of ideas, yes.
well, if you have a rope, right, and you have a lot of threads, you're going to want the best threads for that rope. If you have a bunch of frayed threads with it for diversity, the rope's going to break when you stretch it. Anyway, but what Canada had to say was, shout out to Toronto-born Brooke Lynn, who will be the first to compete in the Emmy Award-winning show RuPaul's Drag Race. Sorry,
Drag
Canada
Race.
is behind you as you stretch your way to becoming one. Is there more to that? Is to becoming one fierce superstar. So, and
It's a sign
First
of
off-
disgust from William.
oh, I have problems with that. Like, I have serious problems with that.
This is
Because-
coming from a gay guy, just so you know.
Yeah, because they are using a topic that still has issues, like, right, some, and I know some people are going to disagree with this, but some religions are still against homosexuality, and I do believe that is harmful. So to use a critical topic to push your position on leadership is disgusting. Justin Trudeau, you are disgusting. You disgust me. This is horrible. Don't do it. Don't use us as political pawns, because it's not going to work. I don't like it.
Yeah, and
And as
Maxime got
Maxime Bernier quoted the other day on his Dave Rubin YouTube video, he said, Justin Trudeau is hypocritical. Hypocritical. That's his French accent. He is hypocrite.
Yes, and what he said is completely right. You have all these views on it being wrong, and then...
Don't laugh, that was a great French accent. I can't tell. We don't have much French people in Winnipeg. That's a problem I have with
No.
Canada. Why do we have so much French all over Canada? Some dude in some random bar in Northwest Territories has to have bonjour, c'est mon team, comme you do. That sounded weird. And then in Nova Scotia they have to. In Winnipeg, do you know what language French is located in Winnipeg? Number 1 language, English. Number 2 language, Tagalog. Number 3 language, Hindi. Number 4 language, Punjabi. Number 5 language, German. Number 6 language, French.
Right.
It's not even
not
in the top
necessarily in
5
that order.
for languages.
Well, here's the thing, right?
No.
Everywhere else but Winnipeg has a lot of French people, but in Winnipeg we really just have more French fries, so
Exactly.
it makes you think. All right, so what I think about Bernier saying stuff like that is it's true, right? I mean, you wear clothes from another culture, it's cultural appropriation, but when you're wearing
is stupid.
the clothes of another sex, it's not sexual appropriation. So
Yeah, exactly.
Why is that? Why is that suddenly so something to be proud of.
Maxime got a lot of flack for saying
He
this,
did.
actually.
You want to know what
It's insane.
You want to know what one of our PMs said? He said, Canadians are proud of our artists, performers, and musicians. Maxime Vernier, I invite you to join me at Toronto Centre at Church Wesley anytime to meet some immensely talented drag performers and see how diversity and inclusion strengthen our community.
Actually, I think he responded to that one too.
So it's like you're not diverse enough because you make logical points. Look, and to that, the reply was from the Brantford branch of the People's Party was, wish Trudeau was as good of a performer as many of these Canadians. But then Bernier himself responded with, do you really believe I have a problem with drag performers, Minister? One of my 4 key values is freedom. Why don't you busy yourself eliminating the deficit as you promised and addressing crony capitalism in your government instead of inviting me to a drag show?
Drop the mic, Maxime Bernier.
Man, Maxime's been under fire from everyone in the mainstream media lately. CBC, every political party, obviously. They're always shooting off shots at each other. But
Let's get
to mine.
Just
shooting off shots.
Shoot the shots.
Shooting off shots.
All right, and now time for Justin's new segment. Woo! All right. Did you guys know that a Canadian study finds that 14% of sausages contain meats not on the label? The study found that. It demonstrates that there's a The research conducted by a team at the University of Guelph looked at 100 sausages collected from grocery stores in 3 locations in Ontario, Quebec, and Western Canada, all that were labeled a single type of meat. 14% of them contained meats that they were unaware of. Is this human meat? Oh, sorry, that was... yeah. Is it dog meat? What is that mystery meat? Leave it in the comments on our podcast. Leave us a guess, and the most outrageous answer, we will be on the next podcast, and I will tell you guys which meat you guys think it is. Is it some squid? Is it
moose?
Moose.
It could be moose.
Moose.
But
Is
I'm
it
more likely
moose
to think
meat?
it's polar bear.
It's
because
penguin.
Polar bears are more plentiful.
Penguin meat.
It's definitely penguin.
That's a good one.
And for all those guys out there saying, what does it have to do with politics? Well, it has a lot to do with politics, and if you can't figure that out, that's just because you're not nearly as smart as we are.
If you listen to politics, do you know what there's a lot of? Sausages.
Exactly.
So many
tons
sausages.
and tons of sausages.
Well, I don't know where we're gonna go with that one there, so...
Alright, and that is about to do it here at the Shrink the State Laboratory. I don't know why I call it that every time.
Looks a bit more like a laboratory, I guess.
Yeah, but remember, make sure you know where your sausages come from and where they've been. That'll be about it from us here. Catch you all on the flippity flop.
See ya!
Bye!
Pikachu.